Chosen one, pause right here. Before you do anything else, before your mind drifts or your hand moves away, hear this clearly. You are here for a reason. Not by chance. Not by coincidence. Not because an algorithm guessed correctly. Your presence in this exact moment is intentional. Something precise has aligned to bring you here, and that alignment carries meaning far deeper than you may realize right now. There are moments in life that pass quietly, blending into the noise of ordinary days. And then there are moments like this one, moments that do not announce themselves with chaos or spectacle, but instead arrive with a subtle weight, a gentle insistence that says, pay attention. This is one of those moments. Divine timing is at work here, and divine timing does not rush, nor does it repeat itself casually. When it arrives, it asks for awareness. It asks for stillness. It asks for your full presence. You may have felt it even before this message began, a sense of restlessness that had no clear source, a feeling that something was shifting beneath the surface of your life, even if you couldn't explain what. Perhaps your thoughts have been circling back to the same questions. Perhaps certain numbers, words, or memories have been appearing with unusual frequency. Perhaps your heart has felt heavier or more alert than usual, as if it were listening for something your mind could not yet name. These are not random sensations. They are signals, and they are part of why you are here right now. This exact moment matters. Not later, not tomorrow, not when things feel calmer or more convenient. Now. Divine timing does not wait for comfort. It arrives when alignment is possible, and alignment requires attention. That is why you are being asked to stay until the end of this message, not out of obligation, not out of fear, but because what is being shared unfolds in layers. If you leave early, you may carry fragments without understanding their meaning. If you stay, clarity will begin to form where confusion once bit. Think about how many times in your life you felt that something important slipped past you, an opportunity you didn't recognize until it was gone, a decision you delayed because you thought there would be more time, a quiet nudge you ignored because it didn't make sense in the moment. This is not a message meant to create regret. It is a message meant to create awareness. Awareness is the doorway through which change enters. You are not being spoken to as part of a crowd. You are being addressed personally. This message is not generic. It is not broad. It is meant for the one listening with an open heart right now. And if you are hearing these words, that means something in you was ready to receive them. Readiness does not mean having all the answers. It means being willing to listen without rushing ahead of understanding. Divine timing works differently than human timing. It does not move according to urgency or pressure. It moves according to alignment. That is why moments like this can feel both quiet and powerful at the same time. Nothing outward may seem to be happening, yet inwardly something is shifting, rearranging, preparing. This is a sacred moment, not because it is dramatic, but because it is precise. Your attention right now is not a small thing. Where attention goes, alignment follows. When you choose to stay present, you are choosing to step into agreement with something greater than your immediate circumstances. You are allowing clarity to replace distraction. You are allowing direction to replace uncertainty. That is why this message asks you not to skip, not to multitask, not to half listen. Sacred moments lose their power when they are treated casually. You may wonder why now? Why this day? Why this season of your life? The answer is not always revealed immediately, but it is always intentional. Nothing about your journey has been wasted. The waiting, the confusion, the delays, the moments where nothing seemed to move forward were not empty. They were forming your capacity to recognize this moment when it arrived. This is not about fear. It is not about pressure. It is about recognition. Recognition that some moments are invitations rather than information. Invitations require response. They require presence. And they require trust. Trust that even if you do not yet see the full picture, what is unfolding is meaningful. Stay here. Stay open. Let your thoughts settle instead of racing ahead. Let your heart listen without trying to analyze every word. This is not a test. It is a conversation. One that unfolds best when you allow yourself to be fully here. You are not late. You are not behind. You are not missing anything. You are exactly where you need to be in this moment. And if you choose to remain present until the end, you will begin to understand why this message found you now and not at any other time. Chosen one, take a moment to reflect on your journey. Every struggle, every triumph, every moment of doubt, and every victory has guided you to this exact point in your life. You may not have understood it at the time, but each step you've taken, whether you perceived it as a setback or a success, was divinely orchestrated to lead you here. There were moments when you felt lost, unsure, or even disheartened. But looking back now, you can see how each experience has shaped you. Each challenge, every moment of growth, every piece of wisdom you gained along the way has brought you to this crucial moment. The universe has been guiding you with precision. What may have seemed like mistakes or failures were just steps in your spiritual alignment, preparing you for this exact moment. Every part of your journey was necessary, even the difficult chapters. Those parts of your story that felt heavy and uncertain were all leading to this place of clarity. You are not here by accident. Your path has been divinely ordered, and God has allowed you to experience everything you've gone through to prepare you for the blessings and breakthroughs that are now within reach. Now, as you stand at this moment of spiritual alignment, trust that everything is aligning perfectly for you. Every triumph and struggle was part of a greater design, and all of it has led you to the right place at the right time. You are standing at the intersection of your past and your future, where everything is coming together. This is no coincidence. This is the divine plan unfolding before you. You may have questioned at times why certain things happened the way they did, but know this: there was purpose in every moment. Even when you felt out of control or disconnected from the bigger picture, God was moving behind the scenes, positioning you for something greater. You are exactly where you need to be right now, because God has been preparing you for this very moment of alignment. Divine purpose isn't always obvious at first glance. It's often only in hindsight that we can fully see the hand of God working in our lives. But now, as you look at where you are, trust that you are walking the path you were meant to walk. Everything that has happened in your life, from the greatest victories to the most difficult challenges, has been a part of this divine journey. Every detail, no matter how small, has been a piece of the puzzle leading to the realization of your true purpose. God's purpose for you is unfolding right now. It's not something that is far away, something you'll reach someday, but something that is already happening in the present. The opportunities, the guidance, and the people that are coming into your life are all part of God's divine purpose for you. This is the moment where everything you've been through has prepared you for the blessings that are ready to be revealed. Chosen one, you may have questioned at times why certain things happened the way they did, but know this: there was purpose in every moment. Even when you felt out of control or disconnected from the bigger picture, God was moving behind the scenes, positioning you for something greater. You are exactly where you need to be right now, because God has been preparing you for this very moment of alignment. Every step you've taken, every direction you've walked, has been carefully guided by the divine hand, even when you couldn't see it at the time. Even in moments of doubt and confusion, you were not alone. Every hardship, every trial, every high and low you experienced has been part of the grand design that has brought you here. When you reflect back, you can see that even the most difficult times were leading you toward a breakthrough, a deeper understanding of your purpose, and a closer connection to the divine. Divine purpose isn't always obvious at first glance. It's often only in hindsight that we can fully see the hand of God working in our lives. But now, as you look at where you are, trust that you are walking the path you were meant to walk. Everything that has happened in your life, from the greatest victories to the most difficult challenges, has been a part of this divine journey. Every detail, no matter how small, has been a piece of the puzzle leading to the realization of your true purpose. The choices you made, even those you regret, have brought you to a place of understanding. What once seemed like a detour was really a part of the divine plan guiding you to a higher calling. Your life's story, the tapestry of experiences woven together, is not random. It's purposeful. Even in your moments of struggle, you were being shaped into the person who could fulfill your divine calling. Every tear you shed, every moment of uncertainty, and every time you felt lost were all moments of growth, refining your character and building your resilience. All of these experiences were shaping you for this time of divine alignment. It's not just a coincidence that you're here. It's the result of everything that's come before, leading you to this moment of clarity, peace, and purpose. You may not have understood it fully, but now you can see that God was with you through it all, preparing you to step into the destiny He has for you. God's purpose for you is unfolding right now. It's not something that is far away, something you'll reach someday, but something that is already happening in the present. The opportunities, the guidance, and the people that are coming into your life are all part of God's divine purpose for you. This is the moment where everything you've been through has prepared you for the blessings that are ready to be revealed. The journey that you've walked wasn't in vain. Every part of your life, every experience has been leading you to this moment where you can now embrace the fullness of your purpose. You've arrived at a season where things are beginning to make sense. The struggles you faced, the fears you've overcome, and the lessons you've learned have all contributed to this moment. It's a season of manifestation where God is bringing to fruition all the things that have been quietly growing in the background of your life. The time of waiting, the time of uncertainty has ended. Now, the blessings that have been promised to you are on the horizon, ready to pour into your life. The divine plan is coming into full view, and you are right in the center of it. Every opportunity that has come your way, every challenge you've faced, and every relationship you've built has been part of God's plan to shape you into the person who can step into this new season of your life. The people around you, the circumstances, and even the struggles you've endured have all played a part in preparing you for what is coming next. This is the time when everything that was once uncertain is now becoming clear. The fog that surrounded your vision is lifting, and you can see the path ahead more clearly than ever before. The divine purpose that has always been a part of your life is now beginning to take shape in ways that will amaze you. God has been setting the stage for this moment, and you are ready to walk into it with full faith, trust, and confidence. It's important to recognize that the blessings and breakthroughs you're about to receive are not a result of your own doing, but the culmination of divine timing and preparation. God has been working in ways that you may not have fully understood, but now you can see the beauty of His plan unfolding. Everything that has happened, every twist and turn in your life, has been orchestrated with love, wisdom, and intention. You are now in a season of divine alignment where everything is falling into place, and the doors that were once closed are opening wide for you to walk through. The path that lies ahead of you is one that is filled with purpose, clarity, and divine favor. It's a path that is uniquely yours, and it's time for you to step into it with boldness and confidence. The waiting period has ended, and now is the time for you to claim what has always been destined for you. Your prayers, your faith, your patience, and your perseverance have all led you to this moment. Everything that you've been through has prepared you for what is about to unfold. This is not the end of your journey, but the beginning of a new chapter, one that will be filled with divine blessings and breakthroughs. You are now in a season of fulfillment, where everything that God has promised you is beginning to manifest. As you step into this new season, trust that the divine alignment that has brought you here will continue to guide you forward. Every decision you make, every step you take, will be in perfect harmony with God's plan for your life. The future that you once dreamed about is now within your reach, and it's time to step into it with open arms, knowing that you are exactly where you are meant to be. You are exactly where you need to be, chosen one. God has brought you here for a reason. The struggles you faced, the lessons you've learned, and the growth you've experienced are all part of the beautiful tapestry that is your life. Don't let doubt cloud your vision. God's hand has been guiding you, and He has placed you right here, right now, for this divine purpose. The work you've done, the healing you've gone through, and the wisdom you've gained have all been necessary for this very moment. There may be times when you question your worth or wonder if you're on the right path, but trust in this truth: you are exactly where you need to be. You have been divinely aligned for this season of your life. Every choice you've made, every path you've taken has been part of God's plan to get you to this point. You are here in this moment for a reason. Trust that God has led you to the right place, and know that this alignment is preparing you for the next steps in your journey. Everything is unfolding in divine timing, and now is the time to trust that God's plan is in motion, and that you are exactly where you're meant to be. You may have spent much of your life wondering about your purpose, or questioning why certain things happened the way they did. Yet now, looking back, it's clear that every experience, every challenge, every trial has been necessary for your growth. You are not here by chance, chosen one. You are here because God has been shaping you, guiding you, and preparing you for something greater. Even the most difficult moments, the struggles that seemed impossible to overcome, were part of the divine design to bring you to this exact place. It's easy to feel uncertain at times, to question if you've made the right decisions or taken the right steps. But know this: God doesn't make mistakes. The path you've walked, though it may have seemed winding and at times unclear, has been designed for you. Each decision, each choice, no matter how small it seemed, has brought you closer to fulfilling your divine purpose. You are exactly where you need to be. The struggles you faced were not in vain. They were opportunities for growth lessons that have molded you into the person you are today. Your past is not something to regret, but something to embrace as part of your unique journey. This moment is a culmination of everything you've been through, and now you are in the perfect place to step into the fullness of your divine calling. Every experience, every triumph, and every failure has been preparing you for what lies ahead. You are now aligned with the divine plan that has always been in motion for your life. It may not have always been clear, but trust that God's guidance has been with you the entire time. You have been walking the path that was meant for you, even if you didn't always recognize it. Your journey hasn't been easy, and there may have been times when you felt lost or uncertain about your future. But those feelings of doubt and confusion were not signs that you were on the wrong path. They were simply part of the process of spiritual growth. God uses every experience, every moment of hardship, to build strength, wisdom, and clarity. And now, you stand at the threshold of a new season. A season where everything that you've been waiting for is about to unfold. The divine timing that has been at work behind the scenes is now becoming evident. You are being called to step forward with confidence, knowing that everything has led to this moment. There is no need to worry about what's next because God has already paved the way. Trust in His plan and know that you are in the right place at the right time. Your purpose is unfolding, and the next steps in your journey will come with ease, clarity, and divine guidance. Trust that everything that has happened up until now was leading you to this point. You have been shaped by every experience, every challenge, and every triumph. You are ready for what is to come. The doors that have been closed in the past are now opening, and the blessings that have been waiting for you are ready to pour into your life. Your path is clear, and all that is left is for you to walk forward with confidence and trust that God is with you every step of the way. Now is the time to embrace the future, to step into your purpose with a heart full of faith and courage. The work that God has started in your life is not finished, but it's reaching a new and beautiful chapter. Trust that you are exactly where you need to be, and that the path ahead will lead you to the fulfillment of the divine promises that God has for you. Your destiny is unfolding, and you are a vital part of it. Step forward boldly, knowing that you are walking in alignment with the divine plan that has always been meant for you. You may have noticed small signs appearing repeatedly in your life. Certain numbers, vivid dreams, familiar words showing up again and again, or sudden thoughts that feel different from ordinary thinking. These moments may seem subtle, but they carry weight. They arrive quietly, yet they linger in your spirit. This is not imagination. This is awareness awakening. You may have noticed small signs appearing repeatedly in your life. Certain numbers, vivid dreams, familiar words showing up again and again, or sudden thoughts that feel different from ordinary thinking. These moments may seem subtle, but they carry weight. They arrive quietly, yet they linger in your spirit. This is not imagination. This is awareness awakening. As awareness awakens, your perception begins to shift, and you start noticing that what once felt random now feels intentional, as if an invisible hand is gently arranging moments for you to observe rather than ignore. You may recall how a specific number appears at the exact moment you are questioning your direction, or how a dream leaves you with a sense of clarity rather than confusion, or how a phrase spoken by a stranger echoes something you prayed about in silence. These experiences are not meant to overwhelm you. They are meant to orient you. God often chooses subtlety when He wants to sharpen discernment, because those who are meant to see will recognize His voice even when it is soft. When you feel that quiet inner pull, that calm certainty without logical explanation, it is because something deeper than logic is communicating with you. This is how alignment begins, not through force or fear, but through recognition. You may notice that as these signs increase, so does your sensitivity. Loud environments feel heavier. Certain conversations drain you. Some paths that once attracted you now feel hollow. This is not loss. This is refinement. God is narrowing your focus so that distractions no longer compete with direction. The signs are not meant to replace faith. They are meant to support it, to remind you that you are not walking blindly, even when the road ahead is not fully revealed. There is a reason these confirmations come during moments of stillness, late at night, early in the morning, or in spaces where your mind finally quiets. God speaks where He is heard, not where He must compete. You are being trained to listen differently, to trust what resonates deeply, rather than what demands attention loudly. As you continue to notice these patterns, you may also feel a growing responsibility, a sense that what you do next matters more than before. This is because awareness brings accountability. Once you see, You cannot pretend you do not. Once you recognize guidance, you are invited to respond with trust. This does not mean you must have every answer or take drastic action immediately. Sometimes, obedience is simply remaining still, observing, and allowing clarity to mature. God often confirms direction multiple times, not because he is uncertain, but because he is patient with your process. He understands the human need for reassurance, and he provides it without pressure. You may find that the signs become clearer when you stop chasing them. The more you release the need to control outcomes, the more naturally guidance flows. This is because divine nudges are not rewards for effort. They are gifts for surrender. You are not being led by coincidence, chance, or fate. You are being guided by intention. Even the delays you experience are not denials, but calibrations, ensuring that when you move with clarity rather than impulse. Pay attention to what brings peace rather than excitement, because peace is often the language of alignment. Excitement fades quickly, but peace remains steady, even when circumstances are uncertain. As awareness continues to awaken, you may feel a deeper separation between what is temporary and what is eternal. Certain desires fall away without struggle. Certain fears lose their grip without explanation. This is because when truth is revealed, illusion can no longer hold power. God is not trying to confuse you. He is simplifying your path by removing what no longer belongs. The signs you are receiving are not tests to see if you are worthy. They are confirmations that you already are. They are reminders that you have been seen, heard, and prepared long before this moment arrived. You may look back and realize that many things did not work out precisely because they would have delayed this awakening. What once felt like rejection now reveals itself as redirection. What once felt like silence now reveals itself as preparation. As you stand in this season, you are being invited to respond not with fear, but with trust. Trust does not require certainty. It requires willingness. Willingness to listen, to pause, to obey, even when the instruction is simply to wait. The signs are not meant to rush you. They are meant to anchor you. They remind you that you are not alone in your decisions, not abandoned in your questions, not forgotten in your waiting. Divine guidance often becomes clearest when external validation fades, because then you learn to recognize the difference between God's voice and the noise of expectation. You are learning discernment, and discernment grows in silence. This is why stillness is being emphasized in your life right now. Not because nothing is happening, but because something significant is aligning beneath the surface. When the time comes to move, it will feel natural, not forced. You will not need to convince yourself. You will simply know. Until then, your role is to remain attentive, grounded, and receptive. Pay attention to how your body responds to certain choices, how your spirit reacts to certain directions. God speaks through peace, clarity, and gentle conviction. He does not lead through confusion, panic, or pressure. If something requires you to betray your integrity or rush your process, it is not from Him. The signs you are receiving are invitations to trust the process even when the process is quiet. Remember, seeds grow in darkness before they break the surface. Silence does not mean stagnation. It means formation. You are being formed for what is next, shaped by awareness, strengthened by trust, and guided by a wisdom that does not need to announce itself loudly. Stay attentive, stay grounded, stay willing. What you are sensing now is not the end of the journey. It is the confirmation that you are exactly where you need to be, and that the next step will reveal itself at the right moment in the right way, without confusion, without fear, and without doubt. What you are experiencing is not random. God often speaks in patterns, not noise. When something repeats, when it gently follows you, when it touches your heart, without forcing your attention, that is confirmation. These signs are divine reassurances that you are walking the correct path, even if the destination is not fully visible yet. What you are experiencing is not random. God often speaks in patterns, not noise. When something repeats, when it gently follows you, when it touches your heart without forcing your attention, that is confirmation. These signs are divine reassurances that you are walking the correct path, even if the destination is not fully visible yet. Patterns are the language of order, and God is a God of order, not confusion. He does not need to shout to be heard, because what is meant for you will recognize you. When a message returns again and again, it is not chasing you. It is aligning with you. You may notice that certain themes resurface across different moments of your life, spoken by different people who do not know each other, appearing in different forms, yet carrying the same meaning. This repetition is not coincidence, and it is not your mind searching for meaning where none exists. It is God confirming direction through consistency. He understands that faith grows through recognition, and recognition is strengthened through pattern. When something continues to appear without effort, without manipulation, and without fear attached to it, it is often because it is true. God's confirmations arrive without pressure. They do not demand urgency rooted in anxiety. They invite trust rooted in peace. You may feel a calm certainty rather than an emotional rush, a steady assurance rather than dramatic excitement. This is because divine guidance is stable. It does not fluctuate with mood or circumstance. It remains present, even when the external situation feels uncertain. God often confirms His will not by changing your environment immediately, but by changing how you perceive it. Suddenly, you see meaning where you once saw chaos, direction where you once saw delay. This shift in perception is itself a sign that alignment is taking place. When God is guiding you, He will often remove the need for external validation. The more you become aligned, the less you rely on others to approve your choices. This does not isolate you. It strengthens your inner foundation. You begin to recognize that clarity does not always come from answers, but from peace. If you can sit with a decision and feel grounded rather than restless, it is often because that decision aligns with your path. God does not rush alignment because what is built too quickly often lacks depth. Patterns unfold over time so that you can recognize them without doubt. You may look back and realize that even before you were aware, guidance was present. Certain doors closed repeatedly. Certain opportunities dissolved at the last moment. Certain relationships faded without conflict. At the time, it may have felt disappointing or confusing, but now you can see that those moments were part of a larger pattern protecting you from detours. God's protection often looks like delay until you understand the cost of going the wrong way. When He withholds something, it is not punishment, it is preservation. The signs you are receiving now are not new. They are simply becoming visible because you are ready to see them. Readiness is not about perfection, it is about openness. When your heart is open, confirmation flows naturally. God does not reveal the full destination at once because faith is not built on certainty, but on trust. He reveals just enough for the next step because walking with Him is meant to be relational, not mechanical. If everything were fully visible, there would be no need for dependence. Patterns guide you forward without overwhelming you. They provide assurance without removing mystery. You may notice that the signs align with your values rather than your fears. They call you to integrity, patience, and growth, not to ego control or comparison. God's guidance strengthens character before it changes circumstance. This is why you may feel challenged internally, even when nothing seems to be happening externally. Alignment often begins as an internal shift, long before it becomes a visible breakthrough. When God is confirming your path, He will often bring peace to what once caused anxiety. Situations that once triggered fear lose their power. Questions that once demanded answers soften into trust. This does not mean uncertainty disappears. It means uncertainty no longer controls you. You learn to move forward without needing constant reassurance because the pattern itself becomes reassurance. God repeats what matters so that you do not miss it. He is patient, and he understands human doubt. Confirmation is not a sign of weak faith. It is an expression of divine kindness. He meets you where you are and walks with you as you grow. The repetition you notice is not meant to distract you from action. It is meant to anchor you before action. When the time comes to move, you will not need to force yourself. Action will feel like a natural response rather than a risky leap. This is how you know the path is correct. It aligns with peace, not panic. Even when challenges arise, you do not feel abandoned because confirmation has already established trust. God does not promise ease, but he promises presence. His patterns remind you that presence remains even when the outcome is not yet clear. You may still question how things will unfold, but you no longer question whether you are guided. That certainty grows quietly, steadily, without spectacle. As you continue forward, the patterns may evolve. What once came as signs may begin to come as clarity. What once required reassurance may begin to feel obvious. This does not mean God stops guiding. It means you have learned his language. You recognize his rhythm. You understand that silence does not mean absence and delay does not mean denial. You become comfortable moving step by step, trusting that each step is enough. The destination does not need to be fully visible because the direction is. God's confirmations are not about predicting the future. They are about stabilizing the present. They ground you in trust so that fear cannot dictate your choices. When you walk this way, you begin to notice that even obstacles serve a purpose. Resistance refines your commitment. Waiting strengthens your patience. Uncertainty deepens your faith. Nothing is wasted when you are aligned. Every experience becomes part of the pattern leading you forward. You are not behind. You are not lost. You are not late. You are precisely where you need to be for this stage of your journey. The signs you see are not there to entertain you. They are there to reassure you. They remind you that God's hand is steady, even when your vision is limited. Continue to pay attention, not with obsession, but with trust. Let the patterns speak, without demanding explanation. Allow confirmation to settle rather than excite. This is the mark of maturity and faith, when reassurance leads to peace, not urgency. You are being guided with intention, protected by wisdom, and led at a pace that honors your growth. Even if you cannot see the full path, you can trust the one who sees it completely. Now is the time to trust what you are being shown. Do not dismiss the nudges simply because they are quiet. God does not always shout. He often guides through peace, clarity, and inner knowing. Pay close attention in this season, because these signs are not only confirmation, they are preparation for your next step. Now is the time to trust what you are being shown. Do not dismiss the nudges simply because they are quiet. God does not always shout. He often guides through peace, clarity, and inner knowing. Pay close attention in this season, because these signs are not only confirmation, they are preparation for your next step. Preparation does not always feel dramatic. In fact, it often feels ordinary, subtle, and almost easy to overlook. Yet this is precisely how God works when he is building something lasting. Loud instructions may create quick movement, but quiet guidance builds deep stability. You are being invited to slow down, not because you are falling behind, but because what comes next requires discernment rather than speed. Trust grows when you learn to honor what feels calm rather than what feels urgent. Urgency, rooted in fear, pushes you forward without clarity, but peace rooted in truth steadies you even when the path ahead is not fully revealed. When God is preparing you, He often reshapes your priorities before he changes your circumstances. You may notice a shift in what matters to you, a reduced interest in things that once consumed your attention, or a growing desire for simplicity and alignment. This internal realignment is not accidental. It is necessary. Before God opens new doors, he ensures that your heart is positioned to walk through them without losing itself. Quiet nudges are not weak signals. They are refined ones. They require presence, awareness, and humility to recognize. If God were to shout every instruction, discernment would not develop. By guiding you through inner knowing, he teaches you to recognize his voice, even when the world is loud. This season of preparation is strengthening your spiritual sensitivity, training you to respond rather than react. You may feel drawn to moments of stillness, reflection, or prayer without fully understanding why. This pull is not withdrawal, it is focus. God often separates you internally before he elevates you externally. Separation does not mean isolation from others, but clarity about where you belong and what you are called to carry. As you pay closer attention, you may notice that the nudges align with integrity rather than convenience. They ask you to choose honesty over comfort, patience over control, faith over certainty. These choices may feel small, but they shape your capacity to handle what is coming. Preparation is rarely about learning something new. It is often about unlearning what no longer serves your purpose. God removes distractions not by force, but by making them lose their appeal. When something no longer fits, it falls away naturally. This is how you know the guidance is divine. It does not require struggle to obey. It simply makes sense in your spirit. You are learning to trust what resonates deeply rather than what impresses externally. This trust is essential because the next step may not be widely understood or supported by everyone around you. God prepares you privately so that you can stand confidently when your direction becomes visible. Inner knowing becomes your anchor when external validation is absent. During this season, you may feel tested not by obstacles, but by silence. Silence can feel uncomfortable because it removes distraction and forces you to confront your own thoughts. Yet in silence, clarity sharpens. God often speaks most clearly when you are no longer rushing to fill space with answers. The nudges you receive now may guide you to wait, rather than act to observe, rather than decide to release, rather than pursue. These instructions are just as important as moments of action. Waiting is not inactivity when it is guided. It is alignment in motion. Preparation also involves trust that you do not need to fully understand the outcome in order to obey the instruction. God reveals steps in sequence, not all at once, because each step builds the capacity to handle the next. If you were shown everything now, it might overwhelm rather than encourage you. Quiet guidance protects you from unnecessary fear by keeping your focus on what is required today. Pay attention to how your spirit responds to different choices. God often confirms direction through a sense of rightness rather than detailed explanation. When something aligns, you may feel grounded, even if the logic is incomplete. This grounded feeling is not emotional comfort. It is spiritual stability. It remains even when circumstances fluctuate. As preparation continues, you may notice increased discernment regarding people, environments, and opportunities. Situations that once felt acceptable may now feel misaligned. This is not judgment, it is clarity. God sharpens discernment so that you can protect what he is building within you. Not every opportunity is assignment. Not every open door is meant to be entered. The quiet nudges help you recognize which paths are yours and which are distractions dressed as opportunity. Preparation also requires trust that God's timing is intentional. You may feel ready before things move, or you may feel unprepared when movement begins. Either way, God's timing accounts for more than your readiness. It considers the entire picture. He aligns people's circumstances and outcomes in ways you cannot see. Your role is not to manage the timing, but to remain aligned within it. The signs you are receiving now are strengthening your confidence in this process. They reassure you that nothing is delayed without purpose, and nothing arrives without preparation. As you continue to trust, you may notice that fear loses its urgency. Fear thrives on uncertainty, but preparation builds assurance. Even when questions remain, fear no longer controls your decisions. You learn to move forward, calmly, guided by inner knowing rather than external pressure. This calm movement is powerful. It allows you to respond wisely rather than react impulsively. God's preparation equips you with discernment, patience, and resilience. These qualities matter more than speed or visibility. When the next step arrives, you will recognize it not by its size, but by its alignment. It will feel like a continuation rather than a disruption. You will not need to convince yourself. You will simply sense that it is time. Until then, remain attentive. Quiet guidance requires consistency, not intensity. Daily awareness matters more than dramatic moments. Small acts of trust accumulate into strong alignment. Every time you honor a nudge, you strengthen your ability to hear the next one. This is how preparation unfolds step by step, quietly, intentionally. You are not being rushed, and you are not being left behind. You are being equipped. What God is preparing you for will require the clarity you are developing now. Trust the process. Trust the quiet. Trust the inner knowing that continues to guide you gently forward. Even in moments when you felt exposed, uncertain, or vulnerable, God was protecting you. There were dangers you never encountered, outcomes that never happened, and paths that quietly closed before you could walk too far down them. Protection does not always look like rescue in the moment. Sometimes it looks like prevention. You only understand later. Even in moments when you felt exposed, uncertain, or vulnerable, God was protecting you. There were dangers you never encountered, outcomes that never happened, and paths that quietly closed before you could walk too far down them. Protection does not always look like rescue in the moment. Sometimes it looks like prevention. You only understand later. When you look back, you may realize how many times things did not go as planned. How often doors closed without explanation. How many situations dissolved before they could fully form. And how many opportunities slipped through your hands just as you thought they were finally within reach. At the time, those moments may have felt like rejection loss or even failure. But now, you are beginning to see that they were boundaries placed with intention. God's protection is not always dramatic or visible. It is often quiet, steady, and unnoticed, working beneath the surface while you move forward, unaware of what was being held back on your behalf. There were conversations you were spared, environments you were removed from, and connections that never deepened because they would have slowly drained you or redirected you away from what you were meant to become. God shielded you not only from external harm, but from internal erosion, from compromises that would have cost you your peace, your integrity, or your sense of self. You may remember times when you felt confused about why something did not work out, why timing seemed off, or why progress felt delayed. Yet those pauses were often where protection was most active. In delay, God was allowing circumstances to shift so that you would not arrive too early, too unprepared, or too vulnerable. In disappointment, He was teaching discernment, helping you recognize what aligns with your spirit and what merely appeals to your desires. Protection sometimes feels like restraint, especially when you are eager to move forward. But restraint is often an act of care, not control. God knows the weight of what you are called to carry, and He prepares you gradually so that when you step into it, it does not overwhelm you. Think of how many times you avoided making a decision that in hindsight would have led to deeper struggle. Think of how often your intuition urged caution when logic pushed urgency. Those inner warnings were not fear, they were guidance. God speaks through inner resistance as much as through encouragement. When something feels heavy without reason, when peace withdraws without explanation, it is often protection signaling you to pause. You were not meant to learn everything through pain, and God intervened more times than you can count to spare you from lessons that would have cost too much. There were seasons when you felt alone, unsupported, or misunderstood. Yet even in isolation, protection was present. God sometimes removes people not to punish you, but to protect you from dependence, distraction, or influence that would limit your growth. Separation can feel harsh, but it often creates the space necessary for clarity to emerge. In those quieter seasons, you learn to rely on inner strength, faith, and discernment, rather than external validation. That independence was not accidental. It was cultivated so that you would not be easily swayed when direction became clearer. Protection also showed up in the form of unanswered prayers. Requests you believed were good for you went unmet, not because God withheld care, but because He saw outcomes you could not. What you thought you needed may have delayed what you were truly called toward. God protects the future version of you by denying the present version access to what would have hindered long-term alignment. This kind of protection requires trust because it often contradicts immediate desires. Yet over time, you begin to recognize that what did not happen created space for what eventually did. Even your mistakes did not escape protection. God does not abandon you when you miss a step. He limits the damage and redirects the course. Consequences may have taught you, but they did not define you. You were corrected, not condemned. Guided, not discarded. Protection does not mean you were spared all difficulty. It means difficulty did not destroy you. You emerged with greater awareness, stronger discernment, and deeper humility because God allowed lessons without allowing devastation. There were moments when you felt you were walking blindly, unsure if you were making the right choices. Yet unseen boundaries kept you from going too far off course. God's protection is like guardrails on a mountain road, often unnoticed until you realize how steep the drop-off was. You were kept from relationships that would have bound you to patterns you were meant to break. You were kept from environments that would have normalized behavior you were meant to rise above. You were kept from timelines that would have rushed your growth and exposed you before you were ready. Even when you felt exposed, you were covered. Even when you felt uncertain, you were guided. Even when you felt vulnerable, you were not unguarded. God's protection does not eliminate challenge, but it ensures purpose survives it. As you reflect, now clarity begins to replace confusion. You start to see the thread of intention woven through moments that once felt disconnected. The protection you did not recognize then becomes gratitude you feel now. You understand that not everything that feels good is safe, and not everything that feels difficult is harmful. God protected you from settling, from shrinking, from choosing familiarity over alignment. He preserved your capacity to grow, to trust, and to walk forward without bitterness. The realization of this protection invites a deeper trust, not only in where you are going, but in how you have been led. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are not late. You are here because protection shaped your path with precision. Every closed door, every delay, every interruption served a purpose greater than comfort. They preserved your direction when you could not see the danger ahead. And as you continue forward, this same protection remains active, adjusting, guiding, and shielding you in ways you may not immediately recognize, but will one day understand with clarity and gratitude. What you once labeled as mistakes, delays, or failures were not evidence of being off track. They were acts of divine redirection. God allowed certain plans to fall apart because they would have led you away from your true calling. The struggle was not meant to stop you, but to turn you in the right direction without breaking you. What you once labeled as mistakes, delays, or failures were not evidence of being off track. They were acts of divine redirection. God allowed certain plans to fall apart because they would have led you away from your true calling. The struggle was not meant to stop you, but to turn you in the right direction without breaking you. When something collapsed in your life, it was not because you lacked ability or faith, but because that structure could not support the weight of who you were becoming. God does not build destiny on unstable foundations. He removes what looks promising, but cannot endure. At the time, the redirection may have felt humiliating, disorienting, or deeply disappointing, especially when you had invested effort, hope, and identity into what you believed was the right path. But divine redirection rarely feels gentle in the moment. It often arrives disguised as loss, because loss is the fastest way to loosen your grip on what no longer aligns. God understands that humans cling to familiarity even when it limits growth, so He intervenes not to hurt you, but to free you. Every delay you endured was creating distance between you and an outcome that would have cost you more than you realized. Every failure interrupted momentum that was moving you toward exhaustion, compromise, or misalignment. You were not being punished. You were being spared. There were versions of your future that looked successful on the surface, but would have slowly eroded your peace, integrity, or purpose. God saw that long before you did. Redirection is not rejection, it is precision. It ensures that your energy is not wasted on paths that only mimic fulfillment. When God redirects, He does so with intention, not confusion. Even the pain carried information. It taught you discernment, resilience, and humility. It revealed what you value, what you tolerate, and what you will no longer accept. Struggle refines perception. It strips away illusions and exposes truth. You learned what does not work for you, so that you could recognize what does. God often allows struggle to sharpen alignment, because clarity, born from experience, is deeper than clarity borrowed from advice. You now understand things you once only believed. That understanding is part of your preparation. The redirection did not destroy your potential. It preserved it. You were turned gently enough to survive, but firmly enough to change direction. God knows how much pressure you can endure without breaking. He calibrates struggle to stretch you, not shatter you. Even when it felt like everything was falling apart at once, there were limits placed on the damage. You lost what needed to be released, but you kept what was essential. Your core remained intact. Your values survived. Your faith endured. That is not accidental. That is guidance. You may notice now that the things you struggled through no longer trigger the same pain. The memory remains, but the charge is gone. This is a sign that the lesson has integrated. Redirection leaves scars, but not wounds. It strengthens you in ways comfort never could. You are now able to see red flags earlier, recognize misalignment faster, and trust your inner guidance more deeply. These are not traits you are born with. They are earned through experience. God used what hurt you to protect you from greater harm. The struggle slowed you down so you could hear what you were ignoring. It interrupted patterns that would have repeated endlessly. It forced you to reevaluate motives, attachments, and expectations. In doing so, it realigned you with purpose rather than pressure. God does not waste pain. He repurposes it. What felt like failure became instruction. What felt like delay became discernment. What felt like loss became liberation. You are no longer chasing what looks right. You are seeking what feels aligned. That shift is evidence of redirection working. If God had allowed you to continue uninterrupted, you might have succeeded externally while failing internally. He chose internal preservation over external applause. That choice reflects care, not cruelty. Divine redirection also builds patience. It teaches you to move at the pace of wisdom rather than impulse. You learn that timing matters as much as effort. Arriving too early can be just as damaging as arriving too late. God delayed certain outcomes because you needed time to become the person who could sustain them. Without that preparation, success would have become a burden rather than a blessing. Redirection also clarifies calling. When distractions are removed, purpose becomes louder. You begin to notice what consistently draws you, what feels meaningful regardless of outcome, what energizes rather than drains you. These are not random preferences. They are indicators of alignment. God redirected you so that you could hear your true calling without interference. The struggle stripped away false identities and revealed authentic desire. That revelation is priceless. Now, when you look ahead, you may still feel uncertainty, but it is different from before. It is not rooted in fear. It is rooted in possibility. You trust yourself more. You trust God more. You understand that if something falls apart again, it will not be the end. It will be another adjustment, another refinement, another act of guidance. This confidence does not come from control. It comes from experience. You have seen that redirection, though painful, always leads to clarity. You are no longer afraid of change because you have learned that stagnation is more dangerous than movement. God redirected you without breaking you because He intends to use you whole. Broken things can be restored, but whole things can be trusted. You carry wisdom now, not bitterness. Awareness, not resentment. Strength, not hardness. That balance is rare, and it was forged through redirection. As you move forward, remember that the path you are on now exists because others were closed. Honor that. Trust that. The same God who redirected you then will continue to guide you now, not away from your calling, but deeper into it. Now, you are being asked to trust not only where you are going, but how you were guided here. Every setback served a purpose not to punish you, but to position you. As you move forward, remember that the same God who protected you in the past is still guiding you, now leading you with intention, wisdom, and care toward the purpose prepared for you. Now you are being asked to trust not only where you are going, but how you were guided here. Every setback served a purpose, not to punish you, but to position you. As you move forward, remember that the same God who protected you in the past is still guiding you now, leading you with intention, wisdom, and care toward the purpose prepared for you. Trusting how you were guided requires a deeper level of faith than trusting where you are headed, because it asks you to make peace with what once hurt, confused, or disappointed you. It invites you to stop questioning whether things should have happened differently and to begin honoring the path exactly as it unfolded. This kind of trust does not deny pain, it redeems it. It recognizes that even the moments you would never choose again were instrumental in shaping discernment, resilience, and clarity. You did not arrive here by accident, nor did you survive by chance. You were led step by step, sometimes gently, sometimes firmly, but always with purpose. When you look back, you may notice that each setback altered your trajectory just enough to keep you aligned with what truly mattered. You were positioned away from harm, away from compromise, away from timelines that would have rushed you into outcomes you were not meant to carry. God was not reacting to your mistakes. He was anticipating your future. Positioning often feels uncomfortable because it involves movement without explanation. You were asked to let go, before you understood why to wait when you wanted to act, to endure when you wanted relief. Yet in those moments, something within you was being strengthened. You learned patience, where impatience once ruled. You learned discernment, where assumption once guided you. You learned humility, where pride might have limited growth. These internal shifts matter more than external progress because they determine how you will handle what comes next. God positions character before opportunity, integrity, before influence, depth, before visibility. Every setback slowed you just enough to build what speed would have destroyed. Trusting how you were guided also means releasing resentment toward the past. Resentment keeps you tied to old versions of yourself, but trust frees you to move forward without dragging yesterday's weight into tomorrow's calling. God does not ask you to forget what happened. He asks you to see it differently. When perspective changes, wounds become wisdom. The things that once felt unfair begin to reveal their purpose. You realize that if certain doors had not closed, you might never have questioned whether you were walking the right path. If certain relationships had not ended, you might never have discovered your own strength. If certain plans had succeeded, you might never have noticed how misaligned they truly were. God guided you through subtraction as much as through addition. He removed what distracted you so that what remained could be refined. This process was not random. It was intentional. Even the timing of your setbacks mattered. They occurred when you were strong enough to endure them, but early enough to prevent greater loss. That is wisdom. That is care. As you move forward, you are not starting from nothing. You are carrying everything you learned. Your past does not disqualify you. It equips you. The awareness you have now is evidence of guidance working over time. You are more grounded, more discerning, more selective than you once were. You do not chase what sparkles. You listen for what aligns. This maturity did not appear overnight. It was formed through experience, reflection, and trust rebuilt after disappointment. God did not abandon you in your confusion. He walked with you through it, allowing clarity to emerge gradually so that it would last. Trusting that God is still guiding you now means believing that His protection did not expire when circumstances changed. The same hand that kept you then is steady now. The same wisdom that redirected you before is active again. You are not navigating this season alone, even if it feels quieter than before. Quiet does not mean absent. It often means precise. God guides differently when you are ready to listen without resistance. You may notice that direction now feels calmer, less dramatic, more internal. This is not because guidance has weakened, but because your discernment has strengthened. You no longer need constant signs to feel secure. You recognize alignment by peace rather than proof. This trust allows you to move forward without rushing. You understand that what is meant for you will not require you to abandon yourself to obtain it. God's guidance never demands compromise of your values or integrity. If something requires you to shrink, rush, or betray your inner knowing, it is not part of your positioning. True positioning expands you internally, even when external progress is gradual. As you continue, there may still be challenges, but they will feel different. They will no longer threaten your sense of direction. You may face uncertainty, but not disorientation. You may encounter resistance, but not confusion. This is because positioning creates stability. You know who you are becoming, even if you do not yet see the full outcome. God's care ensures that what unfolds next builds upon what has already been refined. Nothing you endured was wasted. Nothing you survived was meaningless. Every setback sharpened your alignment, strengthened your trust, and clarified your calling. You are now able to move forward with gratitude, rather than regret, confidence rather than fear. Trust the path behind you as much as the one ahead of you. Both were guided by the same wisdom. Both are held by the same care. And as you step into what comes next, know that you are not stepping alone, but walking in step with a purpose that has been patiently prepared for you all along.